All right. So now we are going to get into graphing these things. All right. So this is going to be our primary example of how to do this. And the nice thing about the absolute value functions is they really do they are kind of all cut from sort of the same cloth, right? And you're going to find that a lot of them look the same. Okay. So it's just a matter of them shifting and doing other things, right? So we got f of x is equal to the absolute value of x. So the process that we're almost always going to follow for these is we are going to make a table, right? And so this table doesn't have to be huge because the equation isn't big, all right? All right, and we'll write it like that, okay? Now for x, I'm essentially lazy, so I always put 0 in, right? And the absolute value of 0 is just 0, and then that becomes my y coordinate, right? If I put 1 or anything positive in, it's just going to be that thing. So if I put 2 in, the absolute value of 2 is 2, right? So the absolute value at this point is doing nothing. Now, once I start adding negative numbers in, so if I put -1 in, that's when we start to see the absolute value kick into effect. So this -1, the absolute value acts on it, and it becomes 1. All right? And then when I put -2 in, and it's going to keep going like that, so it's going to take everything that's negative and just make it positive. And so when I plot this, I'm just going to, before I decide what the shape looks like, I'm just going to plot the points, right? So we got that, and we got 2, 2, right? And from here, you're going to have a nice straight line that sort of goes like this, right? And there it is, right? And we'll put an arrow on the end of it. And then we have -1, 1, so we go over to the left 1 and up 1. We have -2, 2, over to the left 2, up 2, and then we have this. Right? You have a line. I always stink at going this way on the pad. And this is called your parent function, right? This is the parent function, like it says there, for all absolute value functions, and it looks like a V. And if you look at it, it's symmetrical, and it's kind of, it's sort of related to a parabola in a way. It's like you could think of this as like a vertex, right? And the points sort of get reflected, and that's the way it works. Now, obviously, it isn't a quadratic equation. It's linear. It's like a piecewise linear function is what it is. It's got a linear thing going this way and a linear thing going this way, but it's not continuous. Like it doesn't follow the same straight line. So, so that's why it's kind of like its own thing. And now the domain is what x values can I put in here. So it's always your x values. And for this, right, my domain is going to be equal to all real numbers because there isn't anything that I can't put in here, right? There's nothing that won't work in this. And then as far as your range is your y values, right? And that, if you look at it, I am limited to what my y values are. It's not all real numbers, right? I am never ever going to get anything that is on this side of the x-axis. Everything is going to be 0 or greater. So I'm going to write that like an inequality. I'm going to say y is greater than or equal to 0. Okay? And that is how the parent function works, and that's sort of what this looks like. Okay? So I'm going to stop the video, even though it's really short. And then we'll look at a couple more examples.